This is part two of a lesson just looking at all of me. If you haven't seen part one, you might want to check it out. Just some basic arpeggios in there, key centers. This time I thought we'd focus more on the accompaniment aspect, the chords, chord voicings, some ideas on how you can just get more movement into your chord voicings. Again, the thing about the tune, a lot of the chords last for two measures, which is slightly unusual. This is something I'm getting more into myself and just recently have been learning, is that if you have two measures of a C6, you don't have to stay here for 14 minutes. And it gets boring for the player sometimes, and I think it might be a little bit boring sometimes as an accompaniment. But so what I'm doing now is I'm in the phase where I'm overdoing everything because I'm trying to use all the different voicings. Let's just take a look at some three-note voicings for the chords in All of Me. So hopefully you can make some of this out. The first chord is C6. So going across the top of the page there, we've got 4 three-note voicings for a C6. Then E7. Likewise, we've got the four of the three-note voicings we can use for E7. And then I just continued on down the line. A7. And then a D minor 7. Okay. A minor 7. So A minor 7, I just put the C6 voicings because it's almost like the spelling of a C6 is an anagram of A minor 7. So A minor 7 is A, C, E, and G. The C6 is C, E, G, and A. It's the same notes. Okay, so the interesting thing about chords is you start to realize you're going in a big circle sometimes. Here's the D7 ones, which of course are going to be the same shapes as the E7, but everything's going to be 2 frets lower. Okay, so I don't know how much of this you can make out, but it's going to become more apparent as we play through them, I think. And you may even know them already. This may be below your level. As I said, the last couple of years I've been learning more about this. So if we look at All of Me starts with C6. So I'm restricting myself for the most part to three-note voicings that have that are basically played on strings 6, 4, and 3. As a result, string 5 is always muted. Okay, so just to mention that at the outset. So this is C6. Here's another C6 if we go upward. Okay, there's that one we started with. Here's another C6. Again, we're playing on strings 6, 4, and 3. The 5th string is muted. You'll also recognize this as an A minor 7. So A minor 7 and C6 are the same. E minor 7 and G6 are the same. Okay, let me just make sure I covered all 4 of these. This is the C6 with the root C on the bottom. This is the C6 with the 6th of the chord, the A on the bottom. This is the C6 with the 3rd of the chord, E on the bottom. And then here we're going to bar the middle 2 strings, strings 3 and 4, and we've got the G on the bottom. So if we start at the lowest one here, we've got so this may take some going back and rewinding, and just, if they're new to you, just take your time, learn a few at a time. Second chord is E7. So just to orient you, here's an E7 at the 12th fret. Let's do it the jazzy way, which is this three-note voicing. E7. Here again, we're going to bar strings 3 and 4 and put this on the D. Okay, then we're going to come down. There's another E7, and here's another E7. Okay, so to walk through those again, E7 with E on the bottom, E7 with the 5th B on the bottom, E7 with 3rd G sharp on the bottom. Oh, and here's the other one. This is E7 with the D, the 7th on the bottom. Okay, so as I said, you can rewind, you can slow the YouTube down. If you go into the settings, it's like a little round gear looking thing. Go on that, you can slow it down. Here's A7, the 3rd chord in the tune. A7, root position. If we back up, here again, I'm borrowing strings 3 and 4, and I've got the G. So you're going to start to see some of these shapes over and over again, serving as different chords. Back to our root position, which we already did. Here's another familiar shape. A7 with the C sharp on the bottom. C sharp is the 3rd of the chord. Here's A7 with the 5th on the bottom, the E. Next chord is D minor 7. So we'll start here with the root position, the 10th fret, D minor 7. Let's head down. Again, this shape, borrowing, doing this. And then this one. The only one we haven't gotten to for D minor 7 is up here. 13th fret on F, which is the 3rd of the D minor 7. We've got the root of the D minor 7 D, and we've got the 5th. So this is D minor 7. It's also an F6. Okay. So the next chord we come to in the song is A minor 7, but that's going to be the same exact voicings as what we had for the C6. So if I take them roughly in order, again, try to remember that we're always muting the 5th string, and we're always dealing with only strings 6, 4, and 3. Okay, D7. These are going to be all the same as what we used for E7 a moment ago. This is D7 root position. Let's head down. D7 with the C, the 7th on the bottom. D7 with the 5th, the A on the bottom. And then this is our first open string that we're encountering, but still we're playing strings 6, 4, and 3. This is D7 with the 3rd F sharp on the bottom. Okay, the only other chord I think that we haven't addressed is F6, which only happens for, well no, F6 we dealt with because F6 is really the same as the D minor 7s. The one I meant to say is F minor 6. So it's only for one measure, this F minor 6. So I don't use minor 6 very much, so I had to reacclimate myself with it a bit. So we have F. Let's leave out the F actually. Okay, so I'm giving 3-note voicings. So we have the D, which is the 6th of the chord, the A flat, which is the 3rd, and we've got the C, which is the 5th. So it's going to be this. The C's on the bottom. The C is the 5th of the F minor 6. Okay. So again, I'm in that phase of overusing something that's fairly new to me, you know, jumping around from one chord inversion to another. So here's one thing you can do. The C6 lasts for 2 measures in all of me. You keep it kind of basic. Then it changes to E7. We could plug in this one. Next is A7 for 2 measures. And next is D minor 7 for 2. E7, A minor 7, then D7, then D minor 7, and then G7. Okay, so that's one basic thing. You can just move from one voicing to another. If you want to really go nuts and really learn all these different voicings, you could do crazy stuff like just do a different voicing on each beat, which is kind of like overkill, but and then like for the E7, you know, that kind of thing, which admittedly is a bit much. One other idea on this is I'll take the A7, the third chord in All of Me, as an example. Here's our root position A7 with the A on the bottom. Here's our first inversion with the C sharp, the third of the chord, on the bottom. So if we want to get from here to here, here's a cool way you can do it, especially if you have two measures, as we do in this case. Okay, so what we do with the in-betweens, you know, here's a voicing and here's a voicing. In between, we're going to do diminished. So A7, B diminished, C diminished, and then we land on this other voicing of A7. So I saw somebody do that. My idea now is to try to apply it not only to dominant sevens, but I tried it with the C6, the first chord in All of Me. So again, we have this C6 root position, C on the bottom. Then we arrive at the other C6. Continuing on with this approach, the next chord is E7. So I'm still getting used to it. Now we have A7. Here's what we just did. And then D minor 7. Okay. One other thing to mention is that the lead sheet I'm looking at here for All of Me has C6, E7, and then as I mentioned in the other video, they throw in C sharp diminished before the D minor 7. So that's always an option. The nice thing about the diminished is if you wanted to do a C sharp diminished, here's the C sharp, and then you just move it in minor thirds, either upward or downward. Okay. So that's the basic idea. Moving around a lot with various chord voicings. Okay. Another thing just to mention before we move on to another topic is there's also something which I've been doing for a longer period of time just because I kind of stumbled upon it myself, which is if you have something like an A minor 7. Now I'm moving into the hybrid thing where I'm going to play the bass note with the pick and the fingers for the other. Okay, so there's the thing of play the chord once, let it ring, and then do some bass notes. Okay, I'm at home, I'm kind of comfortable doing that for like minor 7s. It's a little harder for major 7s. Dominant 7s, let's see. So it's just the idea of you're playing really one voicing of a chord, but you're adding bass notes underneath. Okay, let's take a look at guide tones. So if we consider key centers and guide tones, we can come up with some nice ideas for chord soloing. Okay, so again, All of Me starts on C6. If we take this voicing of a C6, which looks very much like A minor 7 because it is, it's the same chord. So if we do a C6 with the A, the 6th of the chord on top, do an E7 with the G sharp on top, do an A7 with the G on top, You throw in that C sharp diminished if you want to be wild and crazy. And then, let's see, then we'd have the F on top of D minor 7. So we've switched gears from accompaniment, from comping. These are just some little ideas for chord soloing. So again, you know, we're hearing. Okay, and here again, an idea for a chord solo. Basically, it's using the 6th out of the C6, A, the G sharp out of the E7, the G from the A7, F on top of a D minor 7. Now, D is the 7th of E7. We can go to E for. Okay, lost my train of thought there. Let's get the first few. This is C6 with the A on top. E7 with the G sharp on top. G sharp is the 3rd of the chord. A7, you've probably, sure you've seen that one, with the G on top. That's the 7th of the A7. Now let's go to D minor 7. So we're playing, barring the first two, we've got the A on the 3rd string, and we're playing the open 4th string. It's kind of a nice chromatic movement. You know, it's okay, so here we go. Starting basic and simple. So just there I played an F, which is the 3rd of D minor 7. So if I look at the next chord, which is E7, I'm trying to see which way I should go. Let's go back up to the 3rd of this E7. Then we're going to play the G on top of the A minor 7. Now, the chord symbol here is D13. I'm just going to do D7. F sharp on top. D minor 7. Do the bar. F on top. Okay. The chord is G7. I'm just going to make it a G13, so we get a nice little chromatic thing going from this F on the 1st string of the D minor 7 to the E, which is the 13th of the G7. Okay, so if we continue now, let's start on the E. As we come back to the C6, we're going to do the 3rd of the chord this time instead of the 6th. Let's go to an E7, which has the 7th on top, this D. Let's go to an A7, which has the C sharp on top. Let's go to an D minor 7, which has the 7, the C on top. Now we hit F6. So F6, let's play the 6 on top. Okay, so this is just one measure. F6. Now we're going to change to F minor 6. Yeah, again, I'm weak on minor 6ths. Yeah, here we go. So again, if we start with the D on top on the 1st string, which is going to be our 6th out of the F6, then we can go to stay on the D as we change the chord to F minor 6th. We've got the D here. We can stay on D for the E minor 6. Now let's bring it down a fret to C sharp, which is the 3rd of the next chord, A7. Now finishing this last 4 measures, we're going to have C as the top of a D minor 7, B as the top of a G7, A, which is where we started, from C6. Okay, let's just run through that again. I'll just give you the chords and the guide tone on top. A on top of C6, G sharp on top of E7, G on top of A7, F over D minor, G sharp over E7, G over A minor 7, F sharp over D7, F over D minor, E over G7. Let's do the other now, if I can remember what it was. E over C6, D over E7, C sharp over A7, C over D minor, D over F6, keep the D over F minor 6th, keep the D over E minor 7. Let's finally change it down a fret to C sharp over A7, C over D minor, B over G7, back home. Of course, if you were going to turn around, you could do D minor 7, and then back home to the C6. I hope that's helpful. I hope it's at least one or two things that you maybe weren't aware of or you haven't used in quite a while. All of Me, I find out it's a lot of fun. I really hadn't played it too much. I like playing accompaniment to it. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, you have the two measures in most cases to really stretch out and get creative and throw in some diminished connecting chords along the way. Let me know if you have any questions. I appreciate you watching, and please subscribe, and please give a thumbs up, and that really helps, and I appreciate your attention, and I look forward to next time. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.